which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Look at this audience.
Wow.
Welcome to the July meeting, and it really looks like July out here. Feels like it. Review the minutes. Monthly Town Board meeting of June 7th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Committee reports. Conservation Board.
Okay, Conservation Board met both on June 12th and July 10th. And, oh, okay. First one, which mainly is a zoning issue, which John deals with zoning, is the Dana and Kevin Raymond 28 and 30 Hudson River Lane. The conservation portions of this involve the actual well itself and the placement of that. This is a case of where, this has been mentioned before, where two houses on two different lots and two garages are currently before the zoning board regarding variances and so forth. For the Conservation Board, we did take a site walk of the two properties. In addition to the well locations, we took a look at their plans to improve the seawall on one of the properties as well, and to generally speak about the property overall. It is a non-conforming lot. This is really the first time that I believe that the actual Conservation Board got involved with actually listening and hearing about base flood level elevations and so forth. Personally, I've had to deal with this issue, and it is quite involved, and it involves designations from FEMA and the Army Corps of Engineers, and it gets involved quite a bit, but the good news of it is that this particular property in that particular area is heeding to their guidance and regarding actually elevating the homes, and this is a good thing because obviously currently we're actually there are meetings going on about the fact that the Hudson River is in fact rising, and what kind of actions will be taken in the near future and of course over the long term. And this involves a lot of different communities, so that's a positive thing happening there. Also on the agenda was the Garrison Property Holdings. This is on Whippoorwill Pond. This is very important for us to monitor. They're actually working on the particular pond there, but what we brought to their attention is that this is one of the last properties that actually border the Cortland line, and for that reason, and it also borders the MS4 area for us, which is on the opposite side. This property basically sits behind Country Lane, and obviously it's our last point of actually monitoring the flow, which would go into another municipality, and that is an area that we have to commit to as well and ensure that that takes place. So there was a back and forth discussion about certain actions that needed to be taken and so forth at certain times and so forth, which was brought up last night at the meeting by the wetlands inspector. This particular area is a very sensitive area for rattlesnakes. Actually, when they actually built the structure, some of the structures, the outside structures, rattlesnakes were actually found in that area. So this has a particular importance from that standpoint. Also was discussed was the 65 Steuben Road property. This was before the town before. This is in Continental Village on a small lot. This was pretty much allowed. We were going to be allowing the escrow to be returned here because they were able to work it out with the Board of Health and be able to modify and change their actual septic system and so forth. So they didn't need to actually provide fill inside of the 100-foot buffer, which is a requirement of the town. It did bring up a discussion about something that does happen, certainly with the other boards, such as planning, where escrows that are sitting for a period of time would be reevaluated and at some point, obviously, try to close them out and return that money to people as well, unless the project was to continue, and then the process would be where an applicant would create a new escrow, and then that old escrow would be returned to them once that was secured. Also discussed was the Twin Bridge Road. This is involving a culvert on a property where the owner had flooding taking place and felt under the existing wetlands code that he felt he was exempt from the status from calling the CB because it was an emergent condition in his feeling. He did work with the DEC and contacted them for their standards, but he was advised that his condition really didn't warrant a emergent condition. Since that was the discussion, the wetlands inspector has raised the issue that we might, the town, meaning the town at some point, want to make some changes to the wetlands codes to actually define an emergent condition, to provide people some direction as to what would be an actual emergent condition. Obviously, I would certainly recommend that the code language reflect the fact that on the side of caution, so that people are contacting the wetlands inspector. It's so much better that they do that than not, because they can get guidance immediately on the issue. And actually, by contacting the town conservation boards, you actually help as well when you have to deal with the DEC in regards to their standards, because they're going to be a lot tougher in certain areas, and you can get some guidance from that. We also had a discussion regarding stormwater, which we do every month. We are obviously into the season where we're actually continually training our highways staff regarding stormwater and making sure that all of our stormwater areas are taken care of. We are in hurricane season, and that means we could be hit with a storm and have significant rainfalls, and having more than 50% steep slopes in this town, that could be a very dangerous situation for us, and we need to be ready for it. So that's the discussions we're having at this point with that as well. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Recreation?
The Recreation Commission was scheduled to meet Tuesday of this week, but they did not have a quorum, so they canceled and are rescheduling.
All right.
Mike.
Philipstown Coalition that cares?
I attended the June Coalition That Cares meeting, and we follow the calendar year for the schools, so that was we called it the last meeting of the year. We did elect new coordinating council, myself, Allison Jacoby, Danielle Pack-McCarthy, Lisa Cicluna were elected, and we just had a great time talking about the 2016, 2017 through 18 accomplishments. I'll just bullet point them, starting with the Haldane Curriculum Nights, K through 12, providing written information on the Philipstown Communities That Care resources and developmental assets. We created a Philipstown CTC website and provided continuous Facebook outreach. We created a strong partnership with Drug World. Lockboxes and Narcan are now carried at the store because of our input and coordinating with them. We led the discussion with Putnam Sheriff's Department and Cold Spring Police to discuss issues surrounding local drug and alcohol use. Presented Narcan training at North Highlands Fire Department. Presented Breaking Points film and led discussion groups about student stressors and stress relievers at the Haldane School. We worked with the Putnam Communities That Care to apply for a DFC mentor grant. We assisted Discover, Create, Innovate class initiative that highlights the remarkable things that young adults are doing in our community via social media. And we provided outreach to local groups and seniors regarding securing and proper disposal of medications in their homes. Coordinating council members attended county CTC trainings. 2017 through 18, the achievements. We held an International Overdose Awareness Day vigil at the waterfront last August. We had guest speakers. It was a really unbelievable turnout, very moving ceremony. Received news that the mentor grant was not awarded. Philipstown Town Board then created and approved a position for a substance abuse prevention and treatment coordinator. We assisted Haldane with the presentation of The Teenage Brain by Michael Neary and Stephanie Marcasano of the Harris Project, and they spoke about dual diagnosis. We are talking about mental health and substance abuse, and the Putnam CTC with they provided a simulated team bedroom and ways to spot potential risk-taking behaviors. It's a great hands-on. Then we also had Judge Reitz provide information about the Putnam County's Drug Treatment Court. Danielle Pack McCarthy and Judge Linson have been active in supporting this type of model, with youth and young adults appearing with misdemeanors at town court. Doreen Lockwood presented on multiple pathways to recovery, and we continued with educational and informational notifications on Facebook. So I can't say enough about this group and working with them. And again, it's open to anybody. They meet monthly. We'll pick up again in September, and I'm sure we'll just continue this hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning Board.
Planning Board. I attended the Planning Board meeting June 21st, 7 o'clock at the VFW Hall. On their old business, which I've reported on his last several months as well, Done Right Construction, 3 Ethan Drive, Garrison, New York, is applicant is seeking an application to construct a single-family house where an old house was demolished a few years ago. Basically, at this meeting, they approved his plans and is moving forward at this time. Also, Alex Campbell, I know Barbara's been interested in him. He's been going after this thing for quite some time, but finally, he went to the planning board for the second meeting that he's had, and his plan was also approved. A lot of contingencies on it, as well as, Continental Village Firehouse has some actions that he needs to do. As long as he follows what he's supposed to be doing, he should be okay. So now he's got to go to try to get an application for the building permit at this point. Okay, last thing on the agenda, Hudson Highland Reserve, which I've been speaking about for quite some time now. As I indicated 2 months ago, the board did vote a 5-2 seeker, positive secret declaration. So at this last meeting, we had a scoping session. At the scoping session, people were allowed to speak again. About 8 or 9 people got up, and again, the same comments that people have been speaking about over the last several months is about basically the same. The biggest concern everyone has is with the equestrian center. They want to board 40 horses there, I'm sorry. And a lot of people don't think there's enough room outside the room for all these 40 horses. They say there's plenty of room to stable they plan on building, but it's the outside area where the horses are going to be in a corral or so forth like that is the concern. The concern is the waste, all the waste from the horses, how that's going to be treated. They do have a plan in place to get rid of the waste every single week and everything like that, but that's the major concerns. The other concerns I do have is about as I indicated months ago, is that the homes around the pond. It's like 150 feet setback from the pond, but people are still concerned that's a little bit too close or there's too many houses around it. So before the meeting started, Steve Gabbard did a real good breakdown of how it is. Steve, he broke it down and says this is a Type 2 action classification. Hudson Highland Reserve is now required to conduct an environmental impact statement, an EIS. The scoping draft is such as a table of contents. It's basically an outline of how people need to move forward. The session was closed, but written comments were accepted up to June 28th, which was just last week. So the final scoping session is supposed to be completed on July 19th, which is the next meeting scheduled, July 19th, 7:30, VFW Hall.
Thanks, Bob. Zoning.
Zoning, I attended 2 meetings for the Zoning Board of Appeals since our last monthly meeting. June 11th, new business, Greg and Samantha Rath, 28 Hudson Way. The applicant is seeking to build a 35 by 60 foot detached garage, which under the code limits it to 1,000 square feet. That application was found complete and referred to a public hearing on July 9th. There was 2 public hearings that night as well. Leonard Lindros, 593 Route 9D in Garrison. That applicant is also seeking to build a new garage, a 24 by 24. It doesn't have the side yard setback needed. The public hearing was held and that was approved unanimously. It's the month of the garage. Dan and Rebecca Ward, 69 Highview Terrace. They also had a public hearing to build a 2,500 square foot garage. That public hearing was held and that was approved also. On July 9th, Greg and Samantha Rath were back for their garage, their 35 by 60. That was approved 4-1. And Dana and Kevin Raymond, that Mike had mentioned before, 28 and 30 Hudson River Lane, that public hearing was canceled by request of the applicant. The next meeting of the zoning board will be September 10th.
Thanks, John. Highway.
Highway, I have the highway report. Philipstown Town Board, Carl Frazenda, Highway Superintendent. Work performed by the Philipstown Highway Department for the month of June. Crew activity this month included replacing basins and installing new pipes where needed in preparation for paving next month. The installation of these new pipes will be beneficial to residents. On June 25th and 26th, one section of East Mountain Road North and Esselborn Road were paved by Gorman Brothers. The roads were in desperate need of repair. That was 10 or 12 years though, right? I think longer.
It was 18 years.
18 years. 2000 it was been. Yeah, that's great. That was a good run. Grading is ongoing on dirt roads in order to keep them in good shape. Additionally, at least one water truck has been out on a regular basis, and therefore your patience is appreciated. Signs were placed in the parking area between the building department and the town hall. We ask that this space be reserved for Philipstown employees only. The highway department is still seeking one more part-time laborer for the remainder of the summer. Worker must have a clean license and be 18 or older. If anyone hears of any potential candidate, applications can be picked up at the highway department garage. The highway department received approximately 23 phone calls, faxes regarding road complaints and other road issues in the month of June. The highway department has spent roughly $1,800 in vehicle maintenance for the month of June. June is easy on the trucks. I
Yeah,
guess.
not bad.
Nice. Building and land acquisition. So we put out an advertisement for bids to do the window replacement for town hall, but we didn't get any, which is kind of surprising. I mean, it's a good job. So I don't know if anyone in the public is interested in submitting I mean, we're gonna have to resubmit, so we'll have to authorize the town clerk to re-advertise and,
And Justin brought in the plans and the specs.
oh, the final?
So I don't know whether you want to authorize me to do both.
Well, maybe we'll talk up, well, we might as well do both of them. Yeah, send them both out. Yeah. So,
Maybe we get more responses now for the windows. with
yeah,
two of
maybe,
them, you know?
exactly.
Do it separately.
Well, I know that, but maybe one contractor will bid on both of them if he knows
Yeah,
it's here.
that's what I
doing
mean.
When I
it, it
talked to
makes
Heather,
sense.
that's kind of what she indicated.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm surprised we didn't get any bids, so later on, we'll do a resolution authorizing you to
Too late for
re-advertise.
me to bid on it.
I know, right?
Yeah.
You guys do it.
I don't think that'd go well.
Put 'em in.
But,
Free, you can do it.
Yeah.
as Town Clerk Miranda was saying, we do have plans for this building now that we're gonna let out to bid also. So we're hoping to have big improvements on this building over the course of the next year and bring it into the 21st century here. Putnam County Legislator.
Hello there.
Oh, yeah.
Good. I just want to commend you for doing the vaping, going for the moratorium, and going for the zoning change. It's very important. I think it's going to prevent anything from happening in Philipstown. I also recommended the same ordinance to Cold Spring and to Putnam Valley. So hopefully I'll go before the village board and talk about that if they wish. At my health committee, we again talked about T21 on the advice of the task force, the Army task force against. It's too long a name. I call it the Army or the task force. It's such a great group of people that are so knowledgeable of what this crisis has done to our area and what steps we should be taking to correct it or at least help with it. We have just invited Sandra Iberger. She is the CEO from St. Christopher's Inn. She joined the commission, which she brings a wealth of knowledge on what they deal with every day at St. Christopher's. It's a great organization. But back to the T21, we could just pass an ordinance and raise the age of smoking to 21, but what we want to do is we want to have the vape shops be licensed through the county, because you never know where they're going to pop up, and they're in convenience stores now. They're, next thing they'll be in grocery stores. So if we require them to get a license, at least then we'll know where they are and where they're going to pop up. So it's a good way to keep track. So we'll do that. I've also sent a letter to the superintendents of all the schools asking for their input on the T21. I really want to have good support for this before it goes back to the legislature for a vote. Because, it is controversial. You can go to war at 18, you can fight for your country, and people say they should be able to choose whether they want to smoke or not. And honestly, if it wasn't for the vaping, maybe I wouldn't push this so hard. But vaping and cigarettes, we know nicotine is addicting, and it's proven to be a crossover drug. And you talk to anybody that has been smoking, I won't look at you, Tina, and you know that it's tough not to smoke. It's really hard. And these young kids, you know, with their brain developing, it's so crucial that we, even if it's only a small amount of children that we keep from doing this, it'll be worth getting this law through. Also, Kristen McConnell, who is on the task force, has contacted all the schools to give advice regarding school conduct and school policy regarding vaping, because a lot of these high schools really don't know how to handle this. They're confiscating all this stuff, but it's very hard to detect because, you know, they're the little drives, they're the pipes. It's very hard, and you don't always have a vapor around you. You know, it's almost impossible to detect. Again, the litigation that the county has joined in on against the manufacturers of these opioids who started this problem in the first place has been moving forward. Their motions to dismiss have been denied, so that's a positive thing. So we go to the next phase, see what happens. If we do recoup, you know, and the likelihood is probably small, anything we do recoup will go towards prevention and education. So we'll see what happens. Also on my health committee, I had Jeremy Chesham from Riverkeeper come and do a presentation on plastic bags. This is where I need support. It was a fantastic presentation. I mean, he suggested, you know, there's a couple of ways you could go here. You could ban the bag totally. He feels, Riverkeeper feels, that that's not a good way to do it. You have to charge 5 cents. When people have to put down a nickel for a bag, they're going to remember their other bag that's probably in the car. So hopefully in the next few months, I'm going to take this for a vote and just see what happens. But it would be great if anybody is supportive of this to contact the legislature, contact me. The more people that are in agreement with this, the better. I mean, our whole world is sinking in plastic. Our oceans, our fish are ingesting it. It breaks up into tiny, tiny, tiny particles, as you know. The fish ingest it, and then who's eating the fish? So, and that's just the beginning. You know, there's so many other reasons not to do this with plastic. Plastic straws is another issue. You know, Starbucks has just come out, in another year they're going to eliminate straws. So that's going to be tough drinking those drinks, but I'm sure we'll figure out a way to do it. Yeah.
Right.
Well, you used to have paper straws.
Yeah, that's right.
They're even doing straws out of macaroni. I don't know how that works either.
Edible straws.
Edible straws. Or cardboard straws they're using. I don't know. Have to try it. Right. The opening, as we know, the post office has opened. Have you all been there?
Yep.
It's very nice. They're having a few problems, though, with the internet, and they have a leak. So they're dealing with that. And I know that a lot of people want the box back in front of Foodtown. They don't want to walk across the street.
I don't blame them for that.
You know, it's very convenient. That box has been in Foodtown for a long time. So I spoke,
Just add one there.
and it's a little hard for the seniors to come up around that way. Some of them.
We have one here. Why not keep that one there?
They should just
Yeah.
add one.
So I spoke to the post office officials, and they're looking into it because they have to make sure that it's worthwhile for them
10 years from now,
monetarily.
that box will be right back there, Barbara.
I'm going to move that box
The
myself.
post office moves be like lightning striking from Mars.
So we'll see. We'll see. I also toured the Friendship Center today with Fred Penna and the county executive just to see how key construction is moving along. They're framed in there. You know, they're starting to run the wires. It's starting to look like, you know, you can visualize what it's going to look like. So that's very exciting. July 28th, Hubbard Lodge, rabies vaccination. Anybody that hasn't vaccinated their pet, sometimes you get busy, you forget. It's a free clinic. Hubbard Lodge, the health department is sponsoring this from 10 to 12. and all you need is proof of residency. So take advantage.
I want to get John vaccinated.
Yeah.
So he's foaming at the mouth.
I read in the paper today, didn't he get a $100,000 grant or something?
Yeah, it's coming through from Sue Serino.
Sue Serino, right?
Yeah.
For the Friendship
Yeah,
Center,
we just
right?
signed it. I was waiting for it to actually come. It's another 100,000. We'll use that in the kitchen or for furniture. Thank you, Sue Serino.
So the next time you're there, if you could let us know, we'd maybe some of
Let
the
me
board
know. I'll
members-
set something up.
Yeah, the board members.
For
like-
sure.
Yeah, if the county executive's coming to town, we'd love to know and make a
Honestly, I
partnership.
didn't know she was coming this morning, so you never know.
With the, I'm sorry.
I just had the one question. Whatever
Sure.
happened with the styrofoam ban too?
It's being discussed in the law department. The law department lost 2 lawyers in the last,
But did the
3
county
months.
go ahead and the county institutions and do away with it?
oh, years ago, when I
Right.
first got on board, that was done.
But
nowhere
still
in-
discussing a countywide,
Yeah,
because
just
I
for,
mean, that's equally as pervasive.
I'm hoping that'll come next month.
It's so easy to really change over. I mean, just the takeout cartons went to the paper ones, and it was real, that's really,
no-brainer.
that one is real easy, I think.
Real easy.
The other thing, go ahead, Nancy, am I jumping ahead of
A
you?
lot of our, I mean, I've noticed that a lot of our businesses have eliminated it, which is great, and it's great that they're doing it without it being a law. Last month, when we were talking about the vape shops and T21, we had a constituent, John Cronin, come in and talk to us about creating a more comprehensive law and including making smoking illegal for children under 21. It's not illegal for kids to smoke. So we could pass this law that they can't buy it, but you could see them on the street.
We did discuss that, but we felt that, having kids smoking on the street corner and having police converge on the kids to take their cigarettes away, I didn't know if we wanted to go there or not. So I really want to get this through.
If they're smoking cigarettes on the street, they
Well, it's
should
kind of
be.
shocking though to hear from
Is it-
from
yeah.
John Cronin that you know
That-
a 12-year-old could be walking down the street smoking a cigar and there's nothing anybody can
No.
do.
And I don't think the police converge on our kids anyway. They don't do it, when they're caught with, that's not the way our police operate. They don't converge on them when they're caught with
Well,
marijuana
they're
or
going to
alcohol.
go up and say, how old are you? What are you doing? And confiscate
Which
it,
isn't a
which
bad
is
thing.
which is not a
I
bad
hope they
thing.
would.
But it's not easy to get anything through. So I think we start out with what we're doing now, and then if we see if it works, and then we expand it.
Yeah, I sort of wonder what's going to happen with the sale of these devices in a convenience store. They're going to be banned in convenience stores and then only allowed in licensed vape shops.
No, the convenience stores will have to do
Get a
permits too.
license.
Yeah, anyone that sells it.
Yeah,
And the health department,
yeah.
the health department will keep an eye on this, because they already check for cigarettes, and the sale of cigarettes to anybody not of a legal age, so they'll handle the vape as well.
Wherever there's money, somebody can take advantage of it. It's in there.
And if
Selling
anybody-
rat poison to babies.
And if, I'm telling you,
It's awful.
we had a man from the Convenience Council come in and talk about, this is going to hurt the convenience stores if you take away the right of people to buy cigarettes at 18. This is
Oh,
going to hurt
geez.
us.
Why don't you just start
2%.
selling opioids over the counter too then?
2%, they figure they're going to lose.
2%, my God,
Come on.
it's awful. My heart goes out to them.
Start
Me
selling
too.
Some healthy things. That's
Yeah.
what I would say.
Why don't you put some apples on the counter?
You wonder what people are thinking. And
But it was the public pressure that really put pressure on the drug, like CVS's and so forth regarding cigarettes. That was a clear loss of money for them. So it was the pressure that people put to say, we want to change here. So I think these are all very positive things, because businesses will listen to what we have to say if we're forceful enough about
hey,
it.
we raised the age of alcohol to 21, and nobody really blinked.
Right.
It didn't hurt anybody. So, so let's see what happens. Okay.
One more question. There was
Sure.
recently a deed transfer from Chestnut Ridge Associates to Skylar Meadows Development LLC. That's the senior housing. So there's a lot of curiosity. I don't know if you guys
I
know.
think he refinanced. That's
So,
all
and he
that
created
is.
a new development
I think that
corporation?
bu-
So there's
zoning.
going to be no changes
No.
in the way the housing's run or applied for, or?
No.
Okay.
And actually, I think we really should look into asking him to keep it a senior complex. Because they're running into a lot of problems with, not everybody, but it's difficult. And the seniors are feeling, that's why we started the Neighborhood Watch, to empower these seniors to keep an eye on what's going on and call. Larry Burke from the Cold Spring Police and Mike Piazza, not Mike Piazza. It's another Piazza, I forget what his first name. But they've been wonderful with the seniors. We meet once a month. Paul, thank you. Because there's a Mike Piazza in Carmel. So meeting with them and empowering them that they can make decisions and they can, oversee their place. And now we have to get the power of tobacco people in because there's a lot of complaints about people smoking. And you're not supposed to smoke in a HUD housing development, but they still do because there's no
I've never gone through there
enforcement.
without having seen someone walking down the street
Like
smoking.
the oxygen upstairs.
It's a real issue, and that they're made so many years ago that the walls are thin. If you have someone smoking and they say, "Oh, I was sticking my head out the window smoking," it's coming into the people on top, and it's a problem.
Yeah.
So, oof. So we're working on that.
All right,
Good.
thank you. Cemetery Committee.
Okay, Cemetery Committee met twice on June 12th and July 10th. I also met on June 13th over in Patterson with the county cemetery group. For here, I called up and commended Tony Bartis from Habitat. His maintenance on the cemeteries have been excellent. I think just the two village cemeteries, when you drive by them, I think if you think back a couple of years ago and now, I think you've seen a dramatic difference due to his efforts, due to John Benjamin, the stonemason, who has really done tremendous work in those cemeteries to really make them to respect our sacred dead and so forth. And I think they deserve an awful lot of credit. The other things we discussed also was some of our projects. I just read recently where in Cortland, a Eagle Scout received his Eagle Award based on work that a number of jobs that he actually did inside of a cemetery. And so I put it to the group that I would like to see hopefully something here like that happen. We had an Eagle Scout actually map our Cedar Street Cemetery, which was a very good start for us. We added to it, but it was a great start. We would love to do that in Mountain Avenue Cemetery as well. So scouts, who did help us, by the way, put flags up on Memorial Day, but we were looking for maybe some additional help from them and maybe the schools as well to get that effort going. On the county level, one of the things they were looking to consider is possibly approaching the county government with an idea of an annual cemetery recognition day, where we would, one of the 6 towns would actually host and have maybe tours through certain cemeteries, provide descriptions and so forth as to what their background, their history, and their importance to us as descendants from them. So that's something that's going to be putting together this year, and hopefully county will be receptive to that to start that in 2019. I put it to our group. Originally I thought maybe Carmel would be a better location because it's centrally located, but I was reminded, and I think it was a good idea, that a lot of people do come from outside the area, so we shouldn't exclude Patterson or Philipstown in that case. And obviously we know we have a lot of people come in from the outside, so that is something we're going to take a serious look at. Something that's come up in a couple of towns, especially Putnam Valley, is landlocked cemeteries. It's very unfortunate, but when there isn't a clear easement, apparently some cemeteries are now allowing people to go in and at least maintain them. And that's very unfortunate. We have a landlocked cemetery here in McKeel's Corners, but we do have good cooperation from the neighbors, and we have an easement set up. But it did raise the question about that, and that's actually going to be researched by the group to take a look at that, because they do deserve to be taken care of, and you have people willing to do it, and they shouldn't be stopped. They certainly could work out a process with the landowners, but they should be allowed to maintain those. So we felt that's a very important issue to pursue. We also took a look for the future, and we do have wrought iron still we want to install, and obviously, eventually, we would like to do the General Morris crypt where Betty Budney had done tremendous work on, but because of the expense, obviously, the original wrought iron fencing on top of there, which was an original, we'd like to put back, but some of the pricings we're getting is certainly too high for the town budgets. So we're really hoping that the 501c3 that we created as a group in the county will generate some outside support and so forth from people that could provide some real serious money for that. Another, I think, a very good idea put forward by one of our members was to consider possibly benches dedicated by people that where we would put a plaque on there. Because if you think about it, when you go on our cemeteries, there's really no place to sit and kind of look what's in there, and it might be a good idea. So that was another idea forwarded. So we're moving forward on a lot of fronts here, along with the county. A lot looks very good, very promising, and look forward to the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. You're on.
First item is a resolution authorizing Roberta Muller to submit a consolidated funding grant application on behalf of the town of Philipstown for the Climate Smart Communities.
Okay, we really appreciate Roberto's work on the Climate Smart Communities Initiative. He was in last month to give a full report on his activities there. He's got a lot going on. This is a two-pronged grant, one to establish baseline data, and they're looking for $9,670, of which they already have a 50% match of $10,000 through private funding from the help of the Ecological Citizens Project and Renewable Highlands. So that's really great. These grants would go toward, number one, the baseline data collection, and two, some low-cost CSC, Climate Smart Community Certification actions, of which there are 11, ranging from waste reduction to supporting bicycling and walking, more pedestrian-friendly communities, developing a natural resource inventory. There are 11 items here. Anybody who's interested in this can have a copy of it. But this is a serious, serious attempt to try to take responsibility for our part in global warming and climate change. So we're doing our part. We do want to get the Climate Smart certification, and so with Roberto's work, I think we're well on our way. But we are going to see concrete actions toward that. It's not just going to be talk about it. So with that, if I could get a motion on the resolution authorizing Roberto Moro to submit the consolidated funding grant application.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye.
It's a roll call vote.
Roll call, wow. Okay, Councilman Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Leonard.
Aye.
Councilwoman Montgomery.
Aye.
Councilman Van Tassel. Aye. And I vote aye. Again, our sincere thanks to Roberto. He is just putting in a huge effort, on behalf of the town. So I think it's going to pay off for us, hopefully, and hopefully other communities are going to be doing this also.
He's really grasped this grant stuff and information pretty well. I'm glad he has, because it's very complicated.
Yeah, it is, and to put in two
Yeah.
applications at once
Yep.
was really impressive. And we, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, it's a worthwhile program, so hopefully we get that funding.
Yep. Great.
Okay, the next item is a resolution authorizing public sector HR consultants to develop an employee handbook in an amount not to exceed $5,750.
So I was glad that we were moving ahead with this because during our audit by the state of New York, this did come up as a topic in my entrance interview with the auditors. So I was able to say, look, we do have a proposal. We're going to be moving on this. Something we should have, and it's going to help us define a lot of things that we haven't updated in a good long time. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity. This $5,000 covers a lot of ground. If you go through all the things they're going to talk about, compliance with government regulations, communication with employees, consistent application of work rules, legal defense. Their scope of work is an on-site one meeting, so we're going to have to pull together quite a bit of information before we have that meeting to make it worthwhile. And then they'll come and...
That's all they need is one day on site? That's all they're going to require?
Yeah, they've done this for a lot of communities. I think this is a pretty standardized thing for municipalities. If you look in the back of it, they've They cover probably close to 100 towns, cities, and villages and counties.
Does it include the printing of the handbook?
One copy?
One copy.
So we can figure it out.
Everybody should get a copy and sign for it, that you read it and understand it.
Yeah, and
That, and then new
the other thing
employees.
is the workshop, the introductory workshop to explain and distribute the employee handbook to town personnel. We have to have a mandatory workshop. Everybody in the town's gonna have to attend that workshop and just grasp, things, because we're a small town, we tend to get a little lax on towing the line at times, not in our responsibilities, but in the way things really should be run. And I'm not throwing the book at anybody, but it's throwing the book. We'll have a new one.
We're gonna have
We'll have a big one. You don't want to get hit with this one, though. This is going to be a big one.
It's good to have a
but
book to throw.
Gotta buy the book
It-
for.
It's important to follow a protocol, and I think this is going to reestablish that protocol, so I think it's important, so.
Thank you, Maureen, for
Yeah, as the safety officer and also now the employee handbook coordinator, she's taken on several roles, so. With that, I would entertain a resolution authorizing the public sector HR consultants to develop the employee handbook in an amount not to exceed $5,750.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. No roll call on that one?
No.
Okay.
Okay, the next item is a resolution approving the 2017 point listing LoSAP program for the Garrison Volunteer Ambulance Corps.
We'll always turn to our two experts here on this.
We just got this, and I guess Tina, the order has been reversed, but Tina
Yeah.
reviewed it with PenFlex, and it's okay, so.
And as you go through the names here, I mean, I look at the top, see Sandy Bowl. There isn't an incident in town that you don't, if there's something going on in emergency services, Sandy Bowl is there.
Although she's active with the fire, not in the ambulance, as you can see,
Yeah,
Yeah.
only got the 6 points.
She's
Still,
very
active
with
she's
the
all
fire
over the place.
She is all over the
Yeah,
place.
she's a
and
workhorse, without a doubt.
I mean,
An absolute worker.
we have some really, really dedicated volunteers as you go down the list. I mean, it really, without them, we'd be having a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
So,
Derek Tudor.
yeah,
There.
Derek is just a long time, lifelong, committed.
Took EMT class with me in like 1992, and he's still active.
1992 until now.
I took mine with Patty. She had a lot of calls this year.
Yeah, 60.
Yeah. Look at the Cashmans right there. But our thanks to the volunteers. It is really, really meaningful service to the town. So thank you to all the ambulance workers. So with that, could I get a motion on the resolution approving the 2017 point listing for the LoSAP program?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. I guess it might be worthwhile getting together next week to,
I won't be here next week, but
well, then it's not worthwhile. I mean, but we're going to authorize the town clerk right now to re-advertise for the window package and to advertise for repair and restoration documents for the town hall, for those to go out and be advertised for. Where are we advertising with those?
PCNR,
Mhm.
and then the Highlands Current. And I can go to the contractors.
Yeah,
Journal.
What is the, something reporter?
Yeah.
I can't remember the
I ha-
specific
yeah,
name.
I-
Contract reporter.
Yeah.
So let's get it on those three and see if we can draw some people in.
Putnam Examiner, we should start putting stuff in, no?
Yeah, it's fine. I'd be open to that. I mean, it's, if we can get it in the Putnam Examiner, just to cast a slightly broader net.
Yeah,
It's a-
like Westchester and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of companies down there. We
But I mean,
reaching
I'm
them.
just surprised that
I'd
we
like to
can't.
get somebody local if we
get-
can.
if we
We
Yeah,
could,
John,
but if
you
we
know,
get zero
yeah.
bids, we need to.
I know, but if we, reach out to other parts of the county, maybe at least keep it in the county at
Yeah.
least, you know?
Yeah.
Contractor report goes all over.
Yeah, contract reporter goes all over.
All
so.
over.
Yeah.
But, it's going to take a
It's not an
a
easy
real
job.
company
Yeah.
to take on the project of town hall. And we'd like to get somebody with, the bona fides and a record of successfully completing projects like this. So we're going to have to do some serious interviewing this time. We've cut our teeth on the building next door, and I think that with Public Works, it's a whole different ballgame. I mean, John and I are really familiar with how it goes in the private sector, but Public Works is a whole different animal. So If I get a motion on the resolution authorizing town clerk to advertise for those two items.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
And I vote aye. So we'll skip the workshop next week and see what happens.
You know, a couple of months ago, we were supposed to have that workshop with the, that one lady, the one that presented about the sales tax. We never got that rescheduled.
Right.
I haven't heard from her, but I just know, it was one of the days we had the storm, and we had to cancel the
Right.
meetings because
Right.
there was no power. That's been going on 2 months now. I don't know if
Seems
she's
like we want to get some
seeking.
people to attend, anything like
Yeah, I know,
that.
it's not the first time.
Let's
to
do it in
use-
September.
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
I mean, somebody presenting in a room like this is.
No, I understood, but I
Right.
don't know if she reached out to anybody to try to reschedule herself
She
either,
has
so
not,
I haven't,
no.
you know, I haven't seen anything
No.
from her. So.
I know that,
Maybe she decided to wait off the
we
summer.
used to be a big draw, this board. I mean, you know.
Summer, not election.
I know, I gotta
season.
fall back on something, because. Change the
Well,
date.
last week
Not
was
election season.
Maybe you
the
could
day
learn to be
after
a judge.
4th of July.
All right, well, we'll reach out and get that scheduled for September. Get some,
So,
give away free ice cream or something. Get some people in a room. The code enforcement, here we go.
Yeah, from both. Yeah. Okay.
Code enforcement. Here we go.
Code Enforcement Monthly Report. Fees collected, $31,569. There were 34 permits issued, 2 new 1 or 2 family dwellings, 1 addition, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings, 32 all other permits, pools, sheds, decks, plumbing, HVAC, etc. 28 COs issued, 1 stop work order issued, inspection of public assembly 4, and inspection of commercial occupancies 4. There was 1 new house start at 126 Main Street, a real village reconstruction.
I think that's supposed to be on the bill.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be on there. Okay, this is a report for the Village of Cold Spring. Fees collected, $892. 8 permits issued, 7 additions, alterations, or repairs to residential buildings, 1 permit for pool, shed, deck, plumbing, HVAC, etc., 2 COs issued, and that's that.
It's like Mayberry down there, $892. All right. Any other business from the board?
Yeah, on July 2nd, I met the SunPower team down at the Recreation Center with some engineers down
Yeah,
there.
My birthday, I think that
Wow,
was.
it was the day after my wife's birthday, so.
your birthday?
Anyway, so I met with 3 guys down there. They actually went up to the roof. It was a pretty hot day. We did measurements, took sun readings of everything. So now we're in the process of finally going through the engineering piece of this as well. So I also signed yesterday them authorizing them to talk to Central Hudson on our behalf. So that just happened yesterday. So we'll see, we're making some progress, but we'll see what happens with Central Hudson. I think there's a little issue down there. I'm not sure if all the bills are still under Garrison Institute or not. I think that may be an issue. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm a little bit concerned about that. I guess I'll find out in the next few days if they when they call up there.
Well, we could always get them to put us as first on the billing thing. We had talked about that in the past. I mean, if we're gonna go ahead and install this solar system, I'm sure Garrison Institute would support our effort. Let us be.
The complexity is there's some of the, there's several meters.
There's
but
several meters down there.
Some of them are shared by both facilities
there's-
based on where the.
But I
draw-
told them to, whatever the generator is connected to is what we should be is
Right,
what we
that
should
runs
need
our
to.
building.
That's
Yeah.
ours, is what I told them the day we were there. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if they could determine that, just what's through the generator.
Sure.
But let's see what happens with Central Hudson. Hopefully we'll be giving them a call shortly, and if there's any issues, I'm sure they'll get in touch with me right away.
All right. Thanks for your continued efforts on that, Bob. It's, again, another important piece of the puzzle here. Anyone else?
I have something that is concerning me, and that's the use of pesticides in town. The headline for this Putnam Courier paper is in regard to the Putnam County lakes, and that in 2017, 267 lost beach days, people not able to go to the beaches in Putnam because of algae blooms. And, it was brought to my attention from a concerned citizen. I walk around my neighborhood, which is a really small lake community, and I'm astounded at those little flags that pop up on yards. I mean, the lawns look beautiful, but I'm a little concerned. I live in the woods. It's not natural for a lawn to really grow like that in the woods. And without having the expertise, other than having been in this pristine lake area for over a decade now, I see the changes in my lake. I see, without grossing you out, the few worms. I can't find worms anymore to go fish with because there is a change in the soil. And I have great concern. So this is just, a noticing at this point. Don't use the pesticides. It's awful. I can't believe how many people are still using this. Again, you all know it's going to affect our water. It's affecting our lakes and streams. If anybody likes to fish, I've noticed the fish are smaller. I don't know what that has anything to do with other than, what my concerns are. I think at some point in the near future, like other towns have done, I think we can ban the use of these pesticides, and I'm hopeful for that.
I'd be all for it.
It's got to stop there because watching a lot of towns like Putnam Valley, Mohegan Lake try to fight the algae blooms. It's starting to appear as though it's really almost impossible to fight it at the lake level. As Nancy just said, you have to fight it with the source, and that's the pesticides starting at the.
Well, it's the fertilizers
Right.
running into the lakes.
Correct.
and
Yes. Yeah.
fertilizing,
Right.
these
You have to
algal
really start
There
in the septic,
is the
especially
septic
failed ones. Oh yeah, definitely.
factor, but we can't get rid of septic tanks, and hopefully we can have better watch on them. But
We have no control.
how many lakes has Westchester lost? How many lakes are just
Right.
gone because of this? So I don't know. I guess I'll do some homework and get some examples of who's passed what ordinance
They
and
also know,
present
not,
it.
not just on an anecdotal basis, but, the endocrine system of children, developing children, they know it affects that, and they know it has a really deleterious effect, so. But again, there's money involved, and
I can't believe
it's the king.
in my little lake community, you guys are still using this stuff that, it goes right into our lake. So stop, please.
Gotta have a super green lawn.
Oh my gosh.
Mine's crispy right now.
It kills everything.
Cut it real low when it's really sunny, and that's it.
That's it, you don't have to cut it for the rest of the summer. But it's a serious issue, so thank you for
Yes,
taking that on.
yeah, it definitely is.
And it's also Roundup.
Oh, my
Right,
God.
Right.
The worst.
Yeah.
That's worse.
Anywhere you see those little flags, go knock on their door and tell them to please stop. No, I don't encourage that because it could be bad. But yeah, they have to put those flags in. Anybody will recognize those flags, and that just means that they're using pesticides.
No, you can smell the stuff. If you ride by in your car, even sometimes if it's been a heavy application, you can just it's wafting out.
These developments were built around these lakes were designed for seasonal, not year-round, and that's made the tremendous difference. These are all seasonal communities, which could handle it then. Can't handle year-round, just can't do it.
Yeah, we're busy killing ourselves.
Yeah.
Just got to hurry up and get
The
it done.
woods- The woods weren't meant for lawns, pristine lawns.
Nowhere is meant for this stuff. Anything else?
That's it.
Nat,
Yes, sir. I wondered whether I could give you a
pleasure
update on the.
pleasure to see you this evening.
And you're blue. Very handsome.
What do you think?
Always handsome. How do you do it?
God. Kimberly, what do I do with these guys?
Yoga.
Yoga, clean living.
Yeah. Well, for the record, I'm Nat Prentice, and I want to give you a report on the update, or give you an update on the activities of the Comprehensive Plan Update Committee.
Great.
I want to particularly review an action plan and a timeline that we've come up with, and I also would love to get you starting to think about what does this final product look like? What does the update look like? And I'll give you some suggestions as to what we're thinking. But first, a little report. We've been meeting twice a month. We've had wonderful support from Councilmen Flaherty and Leonard, and Nancy's always with us in spirit and is observing what we're doing. We've identified, gosh, it's such a good group. We've identified a couple of new people who we never new who have risen up and identified themselves as potentially very good volunteers for town activities. We've done it. We had Roberta with us the other night, Roberta Muller, just to make sure that we know what the CSC guidance says about what a comprehensive plan should look like. Because I believe if you write it well, or if you write the update well, you can gain points towards certification.
This is true.
So I think that bit of coordination is in place. But here's the timeline. Here's what we're hoping to be able to do. And Mike and Bob gave us a little push here to make sure that we just didn't meet, that we somehow or another had a sense of producing something that we could give to the public and give to you all and have a look at. So the idea is to get a first draft of some kind of update, and we're not sure what form that should be in, but get it done by September 13th. And then allow a little time for us to show it to the smaller group that ought to see it and give a little feedback on it. And we're hoping, this is a question I want to ask you about November, we're hoping to have a couple of meetings with the public in November. We thought about November 8th. Now, November 8th is the second Thursday of the month. Is there a chance that you all, because the first Thursday is on the first of the month, would want to flip it to the, I mean, we don't want to compete. So how do you feel about a November?
Obviously, there's no competition now. Look around.
Well,
the hall.
the idea would be to have a middle of the week, weeknight meeting or
No chance of doing that on a Wednesday, a regular Wednesday workshop?
Wednesday workshop. Yeah.
Sure. I
That
mean,
would
we
be
haven't quit.
preferable, yeah.
Do a Wednesday workshop.
Yeah.
Do it here,
Yes.
and that would be the first unveiling of the draft to the world. Is that the way to do it?
Yeah.
Halloween.
We could,
Halloween. Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, we're going to try to keep to. I don't know what this draft's going to look like, but we're going to try to have something that anybody who wants to look at it could look at it, and we hope to have that by mid-September. So whatever you think about dates we haven't set anything up.
I would say, if you want to present that on, mid-September at a workshop, and then we take a couple weeks to digest it, make comments, take it back.
Before we get the public involved.
Yeah, before we get the public involved, and then, well, they can, at the workshop, anybody wants to come
Sure.
and be part of that,
Sure.
fine, yeah.
But we'd
that's-
love to, I mean, we need to, and we're thinking about having one of the meetings down in Continental Village and another one, what'd you say? And we thought about using the North Highland. But okay, we'll aim to do a workshop meeting with you all. And you want to put that date?
Or November 7th is the next date that's available in November.
Well, if we're going to do the presentation of the draft in September, I mean, is that worth doing something like that, or you just want to distribute it in September and then?
No. I think once we get it done, we'd love to start talking about it because
Okay,
that's
so
what it's
Let's
missing.
do the second Wednesday in September, whatever that is.
Well,
But we're not gonna
if they're
get
gonna
it
have it done on
until
the
the
13th. That's gonna be, the second September won't be, is the 11th. So,
Yeah, the 13th is our first regular meeting of September.
Oh,
so you.
But it could be the next day. I mean, we don't have any problem with it
yeah,
being
we
the
can have
next
it
day.
on the 19th, the workshop.
well, yeah, let's shoot for the 19th. I
Okay.
thought you were saying, hoping to present on the 13th, but.
Well, I think what you said is they want to have it completed on.
We're
the
going to get it,
13th.
well, it's going to be an effort to get it completed, so.
No, and if for some reason,
The 12th
in
day or.
early September comes by, you don't think you're gonna make that date,
Regular meeting night for that.
we'll change it. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
we're going to stick to the 13th.
I know, but
I'm going to
just-
try real hard to stick it to the 13th. But so the 19th is the date we should try to do a workshop? Not going to work?
No.
So the 26th.
26th,
Okay, that's a good date.
September. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll also be shooting, unless, of course, you think it's not a good idea, to have a couple of public meetings of one sort or another in November.
Sure. Yeah, and then have a roundup here where we say
Yep.
thumbs up.
Okay.
Let's,
Let's talk, if
Dr.,
we
we can also run it by the attorneys, maybe send a copy off to Joel Russell, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Get some. And
Well,
then
here,
firm it up.
let's just think for a moment about what you want this to look like. I mean, here's what we've done. We've gone through each of the 10 goals of the comprehensive plan, and the good news is that this is a document that somehow or another has a lot of staying power to it, because many of the things that are in that document we wouldn't revise. There are some revisions that are, some of them are tweaks, and some of them are things that just could not have been contemplated back in 2006, because the world wasn't thinking that way. But I'm just wondering, I mean, it seems to me that the plan itself gets kind of left as it currently is, and we write a supplement, we write an addendum, but something that would, if somebody was looking at the comprehensive plan, they would be directed to see this update.
Right.
Because, you know, if you read Goal 10, it might have a new plank to it that we need to call attention to in the beginning, don't you think?
Yes. I mean, it's like a code book.
Yeah,
You know,
how
code
have
book
other
is-
towns done it? You know, everybody's updated theirs, so.
Well, you know, it's funny. Everybody has updated theirs, but they've also hired consultants and done a lot of fancy work on them. And I think ours isn't going to be so fancy.
I'm sure it'll be just fine.
What's that?
I'm sure it'll be just fine.
Well, I do too,
We
actually.
can copy and paste just as easy as those fancy consultants.
Okay, well, that's what we'll do. I mean, we're not going to. What we're not going to do is present a whole new plan.
No, we
We
didn't
are
expect
the
that.
the plan is the same. It's going to have an addendum, perhaps a new little introductory piece that goes in that sort of updates the world on what's happened in the last 15
Right.
years.
Yeah, and the things that have been accomplished.
And of course, in the document, point out the things that have been accomplished. And there are many. If you go through it, I mean, you all did a wonderful job of implementing. There's a lot of things that have been implemented. There are a few things that didn't get bothered with, and may never be bothered with because they're no longer priorities. But it's, I mean, well, I think we've made enough progress to want to try to get involved with you all and try to get involved with the public. And that's the schedule.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yes.
Thank you and the committee.
Yeah, they're doing a good job. And thanks to
we're
these
on,
guys.
for going.
Continental Village is on board for the public meeting, so that's our goal already. We can do it
But the
November.
8th is
Yeah.
okay.
We can do it, yes. Yeah.
And Bob, how about that Sunday at
Yeah, I
the,
forgot what day, I forgot
well,
what
whatever
date
the
it was.
Sunday after the 8th is. I think it's the 11th of November.
November 11th? All right.
Who doesn't love a Sunday meeting?
It's 11, that's Veterans Day. You know. That's
Kind of hits me.
Yeah.
Well, but you know,
Veterans
some
Day.
people like turning out on a Sunday afternoon because that's the only time they got.
Especially.
Unless,
Who
well, you
doesn't
think
love
it's a
to
bad
spend
idea.
the Only time they got.
Grooving on a Sunday
What time you want that?
afternoon
In the afternoon
with now.
What time you want it, Bob? We were thinking 2 to 5.
2 to 5?
You gonna serve beer?
That's Veterans Day.
Whatever
it's
gets
Veterans-
people
I just- I
interested.
said
You
that,
you know,
it's
we-
Veterans
we-
Day.
We
Don't-
got to think about
don't-
something here.
Don't meet. It's Veterans Day. No.
That's
Say
yeah,
no.
Veterans
I'm
and,
sorry.
and people, some people get mad.
Just
So,
All right,
Bob,
so-
we're gonna have to come to you with another
Sorry.
date.
Okay, how about the 18th?
my foot down.
Okay?
You let me know. Or should I go book it?
You go book it.
Okay.
Thank you for everything you do. He does a great job as a leader. You won't give yourself credit, so I will.
Okay, thank you. We'll keep giving you reports, but we'll be shooting for September, and what did you say, what did we say, the 19th? 26th.
26th.
26th, okay. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Now. Okay, approval of vouchers, general.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Highway,
So moved.
second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I vote aye. Continental Village Park District.
All except for that one.
Yeah, did you research that today, Mike?
What's that?
That flagpole?
5,600.
I have a call into Mike. He just wasn't, but I will provide the details back as to
So-
what happened there.
We're going to provisionally approve the Continental Village Park District vouchers
Right,
with the
based on
exception of this
that.
flagpole
Right.
expense that we're looking at. So could I get a motion with the amended approval of Continental Village Park District vouchers?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Continental Village Water District.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? I vote aye.